sat alone on his porch as the sun went down behind the Montana mountains. The sky turned orange and pink, but he did not really see it. He was looking at nothing, thinking about everything. The wooden chair creaked under his weight as he reached for his coffee. It was cold now. He had forgotten to drink it again. The ranch had been quiet for 3 years. Ever since Sarah died, the silence had become his only companion. Before that, there were the nightmares from the war. Before that, there were the screams of his squad members as they died one by one in a jungle on the other side of the world. Carried all of it inside him like stones in his pocket. Heavy. Always there. He was 34 years old, but he felt much older. The notification on his tablet made a soft sound. He picked it up and read the message from Earth's Integration Bureau. It was an announcement about something called the Galactic Compatibility Program. 3 years ago, humanity had made first contact with alien life. The galaxy was full of thousands of species, and now Earth was part of that bigger universe. This new program was meant to help. It allowed humans to find partners from other species. Cultural exchange, they called it. A way to show the galaxy that humans were not as scary as everyone thought. Almost laughed, almost. He knew what the aliens thought of humans. He had read the reports. To the rest of the galaxy, Earth was a death world, a planet of extreme temperatures, dangerous animals, poisoned plants, and violent weather. And humans were the most terrifying thing on it. They called his kind apex predators and persistence hunters. They said humans could survive things that would kill any other species. They said humans waged war on each other for fun. They said humans broke their own bones for sport and drank poison for pleasure. Some of it was true, had seen war. He had done things he could not forget, but he had also held dying friends in his arms and wept. He had planted flowers on his mother's grave every spring. He had spent hours nursing a wounded horse back to health just last month. The galaxy did not know about that side of humanity. They only saw the monster. He looked at the message again. The program was asking for volunteers. Humans who wanted to find love among the stars. It seemed like a joke. Who would want a human? Who would look at his species and see anything but danger? But loneliness is a strange thing. It makes people do things they would never do otherwise. Had not touched another person in 3 years. He had not heard someone say his name with warmth in their voice. He had not shared a meal or a laugh or a quiet evening with anyone. The ranch was big and empty, and sometimes the silence was so loud it hurt. He started recording before he could change his mind. "My name is," he said to the camera. His voice was rough from not using it enough. "I live on a ranch in Montana on Earth. I have land and a home. I grow things. I take care of animals. I'm not looking for anything complicated. I just want someone to share this with, someone who wants to build something together. I have a good heart. At least I think I do. I have made mistakes. I have seen hard things, but I am trying to be better every day. If that sounds like something you might want, I would like to hear from you." He stopped the recording. He watched it back and almost deleted it. He looked tired, sad. The scar on his cheek from the war was visible in the light. His eyes looked like they had seen too much. But something stopped him from erasing it. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was just exhaustion from being alone. He pressed send before he could think any more. His message, along with 12,000 others from Earth, was broadcast across 400 star systems that night. The responses came faster than he expected. In the first week, over 200 alien profiles showed interest in his message. Felt something warm in his chest. Maybe this would work. Maybe someone out there would see him as more than a monster. Then the rejection started. One by one, the interested profiles disappeared. Species after species viewed his full information, saw the words human and origin, and their interest. Some sent polite messages. Most did not. By the end of the second week, his inbox was full of automated rejection notices. Then the report leaked. Someone from the Galactic Xenobiology Council had written an assessment of human participants in the program, found it shared across the galactic network. His own profile was mentioned. Subject displays classic apex predator markers, the report said. Forward-facing eyes indicating hunting evolution. Endurance-based physiology designed for long pursuit of prey. Exposed teeth during facial expression called smiling, a threat display in most galactic species. Scarring indicates survival of severe physical trauma. Psychological profile suggests combat experience. High threat assessment. Recommend extreme caution or avoidance. Read it 3 times. Then he put down his tablet and walked outside. The night was cold and clear. A million stars looked down at him, and somewhere out there, hundreds of species had decided he was too dangerous to love. He stood in the darkness for a long time. The rejections kept coming. By the end of the month, every single response had withdrawn. His inbox was empty except for the automated messages telling him that his matches had chosen other options. The Integration Bureau sent him a form letter thanking him for his participation and encouraging him to remain hopeful. Sat on his porch with the letter in his hands. The sun was setting again. The sky was beautiful again, and he was alone again. He thought about deleting his profile. What was the point? The galaxy had looked at humanity and seen only the darkness. They did not see the farmer who woke up early to feed his animals. They did not see the man who still kept his mother's recipe book in the kitchen drawer. They did not see the soldier who had carried wounded friends through fire and prayed for them to survive. They saw the predator, the monster, the thing to fear. He reached for his tablet to delete everything. His finger hovered over the button. Then a new notification appeared. One new message, one new match. His heart beat faster as he opened it. The profile showed a female from a species called. She had pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly. Her eyes were large and dark and gentle. She looked delicate, like she might break if the wind blew too hard. Her message was short. I watched your recording many times. I see something in your eyes that others do not see. I am not afraid. I would like to know you. Read the message again, and again, and again. For the first time in 3 years, he felt something that might have been hope. Elle had always been different. She knew this the way she knew the color of the sky on her. It was simply a fact. The sky was purple. The forests were made of crystal, and she was broken. Her people, they were empaths. They could feel the emotions of others like waves in an ocean. Joy felt like warmth. Sadness felt like cold. Fear felt like drowning. From birth, every was connected to every other. They moved through life feeling each other, understanding each other, never truly alone. But Elle was born with a defect. Her empathic abilities were weak, almost silent. Where others felt oceans of emotion, she felt only drops. Where others swam together in shared feeling, she stood on the shore, watching. She could not feel what her family felt. She could not connect the way her people connected. To them, she was empty. To them, she was broken. She had spent her whole life being reminded of this. Poor Elle, they would say. She cannot feel us, she cannot know us. How lonely she must be. They were right. She was lonely, but not in the way they thought. She was lonely because they looked at her with pity instead of love. She was lonely because they spoke slowly to her, as if her defect had made her simple. She was lonely because no male of her species wanted a female who could not share in the great empathic bond. At 42 years old, which was still young for her species, Elle had accepted that she would probably be alone forever. Then the human messages arrived. The Galactic Compatibility Program was new and strange. Most ignored it completely. Humans were death, predators, monsters from a nightmare planet. The very thought of being near one made most feel sick with fear. Their empathic abilities screamed warnings at the sight of human faces. But Elle could not feel those warnings. Her broken abilities protected her from the instinctive terror. So when others ran from the human profiles, she stayed. She watched. She became curious. She found message on a quiet evening. She was sitting in her small room in her family's home, scrolling through profiles out of boredom more than hope. Most of the humans looked the same to her at first. Strange, flat faces, Small eyes, weird coloring, but something made her stop on this one. He was sitting on a wooden structure in front of a simple building. Behind him, the sky was changing colors in a way she had never seen. His face was serious but not angry. His eyes looked tired and sad. There was a mark on his face that looked like an old wound. His voice was deep and rough when he spoke. She listened to his message, then she listened again and again. There was something in the way he talked about his home, something gentle. He spoke of growing things and caring for animals. He said he had made mistakes. He said he was trying to be better. He said he had a good heart. Most species would see a predator, forward-facing eyes, exposed teeth, a body built for violence, but Elle saw something else. She saw a creature in pain. She saw loneliness that matched her own. She saw someone who had been hurt by life and was still trying to find light. She showed the profile to her mother. It was a mistake. Absolutely not, her mother said, her bioluminescent skin flashing with alarm. He is a human. Do you understand what that means? They hunt for enjoyment. They fight wars against their own kind. They consume poison for pleasure. They break their own bones for entertainment. He is a farmer, Elle said. He grows food, he cares for animals. He is an apex predator from a death world, her mother replied. His planet has animals that could kill in seconds. The very air is harsh enough to damage our lungs, and the humans are the most dangerous things there. You cannot be serious. But Elle was serious. For the first time in years, she felt something like excitement. This human did not know about her defect. He did not know she was broken. To him, she would just be Elle. Not the damaged one, not the empty one, just herself. She wrote her message carefully. She did not say much. She did not promise anything. She simply said she was not afraid and that she wanted to know him. Then she waited. His reply came faster than she expected. She opened it with shaking hands. I should warn you, he wrote. I am not what the galaxy thinks I am, but I am also not easy. I have nightmares. I have done things in war that I cannot forget. I carry damage inside me that never healed. If that scares you, I understand. You should probably find someone simpler, someone less broken. Elle read his words 3 times. Then she smiled. It was the first real smile she had felt in months. He thought he was broken, just like her. She wrote back immediately. I have spent my whole life being told I am broken, she said. My people pity me because I cannot feel what they feel. They treat me like something damaged, something less. I do not scare easily anymore. Perhaps we are both broken in our own ways. Perhaps that is why I am not afraid. The messages continued. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. They wrote to each other about everything. He told her about his ranch, about the mountains, about the horse he had healed. He told her about the war, about the friends he had lost, about the nightmares that still woke him at night. He told her about Sarah, the woman he had loved, and how she had died from sickness 3 years ago. She told him about her, about the crystal forests, about the way her people sang together in emotional harmony that she could never fully join. She told him about being alone in a crowd. She told him about giving up on finding someone who would see her as complete. They learned each other through words across the stars. Her family grew more worried. Her father refused to speak to her. Her mother cried and begged her to end this madness. Her sister said she was throwing her life away for a monster. But Elle did not see a monster. She saw a man who had been through fire and come out the other side still trying to be good. She saw someone who sent her pictures of sunsets and asked about her favorite foods. She saw someone who admitted his fears and his failures without trying to hide them. 6 months after her first message, she made her decision. I want to come to Earth, she wrote. I want to see your mountains and your ranch and your horses. I want to know if what I feel through these messages is real. I want to try. His reply was simple. Come please, I will be waiting. Elle booked passage on a transport ship that same day. Her family tried to stop her. They said she was walking into death. They said she would be killed or enslaved or worse. They said no had ever survived on a death world. She listened to all of it, then she packed her things. On the day she left, her mother held her hands and wept. Why, her mother asked, why would you do this? Elle thought about the question. She thought about the loneliness she had carried her whole life. She thought about the man waiting for her on a distant world. She thought about his sad eyes and his rough voice and the way he spoke about growing things. Because he sees me, she said simply. Not the broken one, just me. And I see him too, not the monster, just him. Maybe that is enough. Maybe that is everything. She walked onto the transport ship without looking back. Across the galaxy, stood on his porch and watched the sky, counting the days until she arrived. The shuttle landed in a field behind his ranch on a bright Tuesday morning. He had been awake since before sunrise, checking everything one more time. Clean sheets on the guest bed, fresh food in the kitchen, flowers on the table that he had picked himself, feeling foolish the whole time. Now he stood in the field, watching the shuttle door open, his heart beating so hard he could feel it in his throat. She appeared in the doorway, and for a moment everything stopped. Elle was taller than he expected, almost his height but much thinner. Her skin was pale blue and seemed to glow softly in the morning light. Her eyes were large and dark like pools of black water. She wore simple flowing clothes in colors he did not have names for. She looked delicate, beautiful, and absolutely terrified. She took one step onto Earth's soil and almost collapsed. Moved without thinking, he crossed the distance between them in seconds and caught her before she hit the ground. His arms went around her thin frame, holding her steady. She weighed almost nothing. "I have you," he said. "It is okay, I have you." She looked up at him with those enormous eyes. Her breathing was fast and shallow. Her skin was cool against his hands. "The gravity," she managed to say, "it is so heavy." He had read about this. Earth's gravity was 1.4 times stronger than her. To her, it must feel like carrying an extra half of her own body weight. He should have thought of this. He should have prepared something. "Lean on me," he said. "We will go slow." It took them 20 minutes to walk from the field to the house. He let her set the pace, keeping his arm around her waist, supporting her weight without making it obvious. She breathed hard the whole way. The sun was too bright for her eyes. The air was too thick for her lungs. Everything about Earth was wrong for her. But she did not complain, not once. Inside the house, he helped her to a chair. She sat down heavily, her chest rising and falling as she tried to catch her breath. He brought her water. She drank it slowly, her hands shaking. "I am sorry," she said. "I did not expect it to be so hard." "Do not be sorry," he said. "You just traveled across the galaxy to meet a stranger on a death world. I think you are allowed to be tired." She looked at him then, really looked at him. He saw her studying his face, his scars, his eyes. He wondered what she saw. The predator everyone warned her about, the monster from the death world. But she smiled, a small, tired smile that made something warm spread through his chest. "You look like your messages," she said, sad and kind at the same time. He did not know what to say to that, so he just nodded and went to make her something to eat. The first weeks were difficult. There was no pretending otherwise. Elle struggled with everything. The gravity exhausted her. She could only stay standing for an hour or two before she needed to rest. The sunlight hurt her eyes, so she wore special glasses that ordered from the Integration Supply Center. The food was too heavy, too rich, too strange. She ate small amounts and felt sick often. Watched her struggle and felt helpless. He was used to fixing problems with his hands, broken fences, sick animals, damaged machines, but he could not fix this. He could not make Earth less harsh for her. So he did what he could. He built her a special chair with supports that helped with the gravity. He spent 3 days on it, measuring and adjusting until it was perfect. When she sat in it for the first time and sighed with relief, he felt like he had won a war. He covered the windows with special film that softened the sunlight. He learned to cook food, or at least his best attempt at it. He kept the house quiet because loud noises startled her. He moved slowly around her because quick movements made her flinch. She noticed all of it. Every small thing he did, she noticed. "Why do you do so much for me?" she asked one evening. They were sitting on the porch, watching the sunset. She was wrapped in a blanket because Earth's evenings were cold for her. "Because you came," he said simply. "You crossed the galaxy for me. The least I can do is make you comfortable. But it is so much work." He shrugged. "I like work, makes me feel useful." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "On my world they said you would be dangerous. They said you would hurt me. Do you believe them?" "No," she said. "I believe your hands. They are rough and strong. They could break things easily. But you use them to build chairs and cook food and catch me when I fall. That tells me more than any warning." He did not know what to say, so he just sat with her and watched the colors change in the sky. The nightmares came for him 3 nights later. He woke up shouting, covered in sweat, his hands reaching for a weapon that was not there. The dream was the same one he always had. The jungle, the gunfire, his friends dying while he tried to save them with hands that were never fast enough. He sat in the darkness, breathing hard, trying to remember where he was. Then he heard it, a soft humming from the next room, a melody he did not recognize, rising and falling like water over stones. Elle was singing. He did not know if she had heard him wake up. He did not know if she was singing for herself or for him, but he lay back down and listened. The melody was strange and beautiful, nothing like any music he knew. It wrapped around him like a blanket. For the first time in months, he fell back asleep, and the nightmares did not come again that night. He never mentioned it to her, but from then on, whenever she heard him wake up gasping, she would hum that same song, and he would sleep. One afternoon, she cut her hand while helping him prepare vegetables. It was a small cut, but it bled blue instead of red. She stared at it with wide eyes, clearly not used to pain. Was across the kitchen in a second. He took her hand gently, examining the wound with the calm focus of someone who had treated far worse injuries. "It is small," he said. "This will sting a little." He cleaned the cut and bandaged it with precise movements. His hands were steady. His voice was calm. The whole thing took less than 2 minutes. When he looked up, she was staring at him with an expression he could not read. "What?" he asked. "They told me you were built for violence," she said quietly. "That your species evolved to hunt and kill. And you did, I can see it. You have hurt people, you have been in battles." He nodded slowly, waiting for her to say she wanted to leave. "But that is not all you are," she continued. "You could have been a destroyer. Instead, you learned to heal. You use the same hands that could break bones to bandage wounds. That is a choice. That is who you chose to be." He looked down at her small hand in his, the white bandage bright against her blue skin. "War changes you," he said. "You can let it make you into a monster, or you can decide to be something else. I spent a long time being lost. Then I came back to this ranch and tried to build something instead of destroy. I do not know if it worked, but I am still trying." She reached up with her uninjured hand and touched his face. Her fingers were cool against his cheek, right over his scar. "It worked," she said. "I can see it." That night they ate dinner together for the first time without the awkwardness of the early days. They talked and laughed and shared stories. Outside, the first stars were appearing. Then they heard the sound of something being sprayed on the fence at the edge of the property. Went to check in the morning before she woke up. The words were painted in bright red on the white fence. "Alien Go Home." He stood looking at them for a long time. Then he got paint from the barn and covered them up. When she came outside later, he was drinking coffee on the porch like nothing had happened. "Did something happen?" she asked. Her species might not have strong empathy abilities in her case, but she was observant. He considered lying. He considered protecting her from this small cruelty. "Someone painted something on the fence," he said. "I cleaned it up." "Something bad?" "Yes." She was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Why did you not tell me?" He looked at her, this delicate creature who had crossed the universe to be with him. "Because you came here for a better life," he said. "You should not have to carry hate that is not yours. I will protect you from as much of it as I can." Her eyes filled with something that might have been tears. Her species did not cry exactly, but they had their own version of it. "No one has ever protected me before," she said quietly. "On my world, I was the broken one who could not feel. No one thought I needed protecting." "Everyone needs protecting sometimes," he said. "That is what partners do." She walked over to him and sat down in the chair beside his. She reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were thin and cool. His were rough and warm. They sat together watching the morning sun rise over the mountains. And for the first time, it felt like they were building something real. The shuttle from Prime landed on a cold October morning when the leaves were turning gold and red on the mountain trees. Stood beside Elle, watching four figures emerge from the ship. He kept his hands at his sides and his face calm, even though his heart was racing. Her family had come, and they had brought a government observer. Elle's father was tall and thin, with skin that glowed a deeper blue than hers. His face showed no expression, but his eyes were cold when they looked at. Her mother was smaller, softer, and she was already weeping the moment she saw her daughter. Her sister stood behind them, her arms crossed, her whole body turned away from as if she could not stand to look at him. The observer was different from the family. She wore official clothing and carried a device that she used to record everything. Her name was Os, and she explained her purpose in a flat, professional voice. "I am here to assess the welfare of Elle," she said. "The government has concerns about this arrangement. I will observe for 7 days and make my report." Nodded, "You are welcome in my home, all of you." The father made a sound that might have been disbelief. The mother continued to cry. The sister still would not look at him. Elle stepped forward and embraced her mother. They held each other for a long time, watched, feeling like an outsider. This was her family, her world, and they all believed he was a monster holding their daughter prisoner. The first days of the visit were uncomfortable in ways that had not expected. He had thought the worst part would be their fear of him. And yes, they were afraid. Her mother flinched whenever he moved too quickly. Her sister stayed as far from him as possible at all times. Her father watched him constantly with those cold, evaluating eyes, like he was waiting for to reveal his true nature. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was watching them treat Elle. They spoke to her slowly, using simple words, as if her empathic defect had somehow made her stupid. They touched her with pity. They looked at her with sad eyes and made comments about how difficult her life must be, living so far from the emotional bond of her people. They treated her like a child who had made a terrible mistake and needed to be rescued. Saw how Elle became smaller around them, how she stopped speaking as much, how she folded in on herself and became the broken daughter they expected her to be. It made him angry in a way he had not felt in years, but he kept his anger hidden. He was polite. He was patient. He answered their questions honestly. He showed them the ranch, the animals, the life he was building here. The observer recorded everything. She asked him about his military service, about his psychological history, about his violent tendencies. He answered without defensiveness. Yes, he had been a soldier. Yes, he had killed in war. Yes, he carried damage from those experiences. No, he had never hurt Elle. No, he never would. "You understand our concerns," Os said. "Your species has a reputation for violence. We need to be certain she is safe." "I understand," said. "Ask her yourself. She is not a prisoner. She is not afraid. She chose to be here." But the family did not seem interested in what Elle had to say. They had already decided what was true. Then the storm came. It hit on the 5th day of their visit, faster and harder than any forecast had predicted. Had grown up in Montana. He knew winter storms. He knew how quickly they could become deadly, but he had never seen anything like this. The temperature dropped 40 degrees in 3 hours. The wind rose to screaming speeds. Snow began falling so thick that you could not see 10 feet in front of you. The power went out. The heating failed. And the started dying. Their species was not built for cold. There was warm and gentle. A temperature that was merely uncomfortable for was deadly for them. Within an hour, all 4 of them were showing signs of hypothermia. Their skin lost its glow. Their movements became slow and clumsy. Elle's mother collapsed first, unable to stand. There was no way to call for help. The storm had knocked out all communication. The shuttle could not launch in these conditions. They were trapped on a death world in a death storm and was the only one who could save them. He did not hesitate. He carried Elle's mother to the living room himself, her fragile body light in his arms. He laid her in front of the fireplace and covered her with every blanket he owned. He gave up his own coat to wrap around Elle's sister, even though the girl had not spoken a kind word to him the entire visit. He helped the father walk when the older man's legs stopped working from the cold. Then he started the fire with wood he had chopped himself. He kept it burning through the night, feeding it constantly, never resting. The storm lasted 36 hours. For 36 hours, did not sleep. He boiled snow for water. He heated soup over the fire and helped each of them drink it. He monitored their temperatures constantly. He rubbed warmth back into hands and feet that had gone too cold. He held the mother when she shivered so hard she could not breathe, sharing his body heat because his human physiology ran hotter than theirs. The observer watched everything. She recorded nothing. Her device had stopped working in the cold. Near the end of the storm, the father's heart began to fail. The stress of the cold was too much for his system. Could see it in the way he was breathing, the way his skin had lost all color. Without thinking about what the family might think, went to work. He had been a combat medic. He had saved lives in conditions worse than this. He positioned the father correctly, administered chest compressions when needed, kept the airway clear. He worked with the same focused intensity he had used on the battlefield, except this time there was no gunfire, no chaos, just him and a dying alien and the howling wind outside. The father survived. When morning came and the storm finally passed, he was weak but alive. The shuttle's emergency systems came back online. The observers could finally call for medical support. A rescue team was on its way. While they waited, As approached. He was sitting on the porch, exhausted beyond words, drinking coffee that had gone cold hours ago. He had not slept in almost 2 days. He looked terrible. "Why did you do this?" she asked. He looked at her, too tired to pretend. "Do what?" "Save them. We came here to take her away from you. We came here to prove that you are dangerous, and you risked your life to save all of us. Why?" Thought about the question. He thought about the mother who had flinched away from him, the sister who refused to meet his eyes, the father who had watched him with cold suspicion, the observer who had questioned his sanity. "They are her family," he said finally. "That makes them mine too. That is how it works. You protect family, even when they are afraid of you, even when they think you are a monster. You protect them anyway." As was quiet for a long time. Then she bowed her head in a gesture that did not recognize but somehow understood. "I was wrong about you," she said. "We were all wrong." Later that day, after the medical team had come and gone, after everyone had been treated and stabilized, Elle's father asked to speak with alone. They stood on the porch together, looking out at the snow-covered mountains. The old alien was wrapped in blankets, still weak, but his eyes had changed. The coldness was gone. "I came here to save my daughter from a predator," he said slowly. "I was prepared to hate you, to fight you if needed. I was certain you were everything the warning said, a killer, a monster, something to fear. Said nothing, he just waited. The father reached out and gripped his shoulder. It was a gesture El had told him once, a sign of profound respect between equals. I was wrong, the father said. You are not a predator. You are a guardian. You protect what you love, and you love my daughter. It was not a question, nodded anyway. She is lucky to have found you, the father continued. We are all lucky. I will go back to my world and tell them what I saw, a human who could have let us die, who could have proven every fear true. Instead, he almost killed himself saving the people who came to take his partner away. He released shoulder and stepped back. Take care of her, he said, and when you have children, bring them to visit. I would like to know my. Felt something break loose in his chest, something that had been tight for a very long time. I will, he said, I promise. The family left the next day. Elle's mother hugged him before she boarded the shuttle. Her sister actually smiled at him. Her father clasped his shoulder one more time. The observer bowed deeply before she left. My report will be favorable, she said. Very favorable. What you did will be remembered. Then they were gone, rising up into the blue sky and disappearing into the stars. Elle stood beside, watching the shuttle vanish. Then she leaned against him, resting her head on his shoulder. Thank you, she said softly, for saving them, for proving them wrong. He put his arm around her. I did not do it to prove anything, he said. I did it because they matter to you, and you matter to me. She looked up at him with those enormous dark eyes. I know, she said, that is why I love you. It was the first time either of them had said the word. It hung in the cold morning air between them, fragile and new and absolutely true. Smiled, a real smile, the kind that showed his teeth. I love you too, he said. And for once, his smile did not look like a threat at all. 3 years had passed since Elle first stepped onto Earth and nearly collapsed under its heavy gravity. 3 years of learning each other. 3 years of building a life together. 3 years of proving every warning wrong. The ranch had grown, had built a second greenhouse for plants that could not survive in Earth's soil. He had modified the house with special lighting and temperature controls that made it comfortable for his wife. Yes, his wife. They had married in a small ceremony 2 years ago, with her family watching via galactic transmission and a few trusted neighbors attending in person. But the biggest change was the smallest person. Lena was 2 years old now. She had her mother's bioluminescent skin, which glowed softly when she was happy or excited. She had her father's stubborn determination and his forward-facing eyes. She was a hybrid, the first of her kind, and she was absolutely perfect. Was holding her on his knee when the shuttle landed in the field behind the ranch. Not a family visit this time. This shuttle carried a documentary crew from the Galactic Cultural Institute. They had traveled from the core worlds to make a broadcast about the Galactic Compatibility Program, and they wanted to feature the human farmer and his wife. The story had spread. After the storm, after Oz filed her report, people had started talking. The tale of the human who almost died saving his in-laws became famous across dozens of systems. Other humans in the program started sharing their own stories. A pattern emerged. Again and again, humans proved to be something other than the monsters everyone expected. Now the galaxy wanted to understand, hence the documentary. The crew consisted of 3 aliens from different species. The lead journalist was a tall and insect-like, with compound eyes that saw everything. The camera operator was a small and round and covered in soft fur. The sound technician was another, who looked at with open curiosity instead of fear. They spent 3 days at the ranch. They filmed working with his animals. They filmed Elle tending her alien garden. They filmed Lena taking careful steps across the living room, laughing when she fell and getting up to try again. They filmed the meals, the quiet evenings, the ordinary moments of a family building a life together. On the final day, they conducted the formal interviews. Elle went first. She sat in the special chair had built for her years ago, looking relaxed and comfortable in a way she never could have imagined when she first arrived. "Tell me," the journalist said, "when you first responded to the human's message, what did you think would happen?" Elle considered the question. "I did not know. Everyone told me I was walking into danger. My family believed I was going to my death. The warnings about humans were so strong that most people could not even look at their profiles without feeling afraid." "But you were not afraid." "No, my empathic abilities are weak. I could not feel the instinctive terror that others felt, so I was free to see what was actually there. And what I saw was a man in pain, a man who was lonely, a man who wanted to be loved." "And now, 3 years later, what do you see?" Elle smiled. It was the same smile had fallen in love with. "Now I see my husband, the father of my child, the person who taught me that being different is not the same as being broken, the person who chose gentleness when he could have chosen violence. The galaxy fears humans because they can destroy, but I stayed because I saw what they can build." The journalist made a note, then turned to. He had Lena on his lap. She was playing with a toy her grandmother had sent from Prime. He looked tired, as he always did, but the sadness that had lived in his eyes for so many years had faded. "You sent a message into the void," the journalist said. "Hundreds of species rejected you. What made you keep hopping?" Was quiet for a moment. He stroked his daughter's glowing hair absently. "I did not keep hopping," he admitted. "I gave up. The night before Elle's message arrived, I was ready to delete my profile and accept that I would be alone forever. I had decided that the galaxy was right about me, that I was just a monster from a death world." "What changed?" "She did. She looked at me and saw something else. She did not see the soldier or the killer or the apex predator. She saw the farmer who grew things, the man who healed wounded animals, the person who was trying to be better than his worst moments. She saw me." He looked at his wife, who was watching him with love in her enormous dark eyes. "The galaxy sees humans as dangerous," he continued. "And we evolved on a death world. We survived things that would kill most species. We have the capacity for terrible violence. That is true, but it is not the whole truth." "What is the whole truth?" Held up Lena, who giggled and grabbed at his nose. "Humans love fiercely," he said. "We protect what is ours with everything we have. We build families across impossible distances. We take strangers in and make them part of our pack. The same instincts that make us dangerous also make us loyal beyond reason. Give a human someone to protect and they will walk through fire for them. That is what we are, not just predators, guardians." The interview ended. The crew packed up their equipment and prepared to leave. But before they boarded their shuttle, the journalist asked one more question. "Any regrets?" Was standing on the porch with his wife and daughter. The sun was setting behind the mountains, painting the sky in colors that never got old. "I sent a message into the void," he said. "Just words and hope thrown into the darkness," she answered. "She came to me across the galaxy. She stayed when everyone else ran, and now we have this." He gestured at the ranch, at his family, at the life they had built together. "That is not a regret," he said. "That is a miracle." The documentary aired 3 weeks later. It was broadcast across 400 star systems, translated into thousands of languages, viewed by billions of beings. Elle's words became the most shared clip in galactic history. They played it on news programs, in schools, in government meetings. Her voice, calm and certain, explaining what she had seen in her human husband. "Everyone saw a predator. I saw a man who had been broken by war and still chose to heal, who had every reason to be cruel and chose kindness instead. The galaxy fears humans because they can destroy, but I stayed because I saw what they can build." The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Messages began flooding human communication channels. Not fear, not warnings, requests. I saw the broadcast. I am curious about your species. Would you tell me about yourself? I was afraid of humans before. I am not afraid anymore. I would like to learn more. I am alone on my world. I do not fit with my people. Perhaps I would fit with yours. May I write to you? The Galactic Compatibility Program, which had been considered a failure by many, suddenly exploded with interest. Thousands of new applications arrived every day. Humans who had given up on finding partners started receiving messages again. The walls of fear that had isolated Earth from the rest of the galaxy began to crack. On the ranch in Montana, and Elle watched the news reports with quiet amazement. We did not do anything special, Elle said. We just lived our life. Put his arm around her. Lena was asleep in her crib, her skin glowing softly in the darkness. Sometimes that is enough, he said. Sometimes showing people what is possible changes everything. They sat together in comfortable silence. Outside, the stars were coming out, the same stars that had watched their story unfold from the beginning. Across the galaxy, the message was spreading, not just about an L, but about humanity itself. They were dangerous, yes. They were predators from a death world, but they were also builders, healers, protectors. They took in strays and made them family. They fought for the ones they loved. They chose gentleness when violence would have been easier. The galaxy had been afraid of what humans could destroy. Now they were beginning to understand what humans could create. And it had all started with a lonely farmer, a broken message, and one person brave enough to say, I am not afraid. I would like to know you. In the end, that was the most human thing of all. Reaching out into the darkness, hoping someone would reach back, building bridges across impossible distances, believing that love could be found in the most unlikely places. They had a word for it. Translated roughly, it meant the courage to connect despite fear. Humans just called it hope. And hope, as it turned out, was something humans had in abundance. Kissed his wife's forehead and watched the stars wheel slowly overhead. Somewhere out there, millions of beings were reading about his family. Millions more were sending their own messages into the void. He smiled in the darkness. Let them come, he thought. Let them see what humans really are. Let them see what love can build.